Okay, today our goal is going to be able to solve a square root function. So my goal is right here. I can solve square root functions. A couple of steps we should follow whenever we're trying to solve square root function problems. First thing we need to remember is we need to always isolate. Isolate, that means get by itself the square root. Not root. There we go. Isolate the square root. Once we have isolated the square root, we are next going to go through and square both sides of our equation. And in squaring both sides of our equation, that will take and essentially eliminate the square root. Just squaring it is the inverse of it. And after we do that, we're going to go through and follow our regular solving equation protocol and solve for x, or whatever variable we happen to have. One thing we do have to remember when we're dealing with radical equations, square root equations, is we need to always check the solutions, because there is the possibility of extraneous solutions on occasions. Looking at our first example right here, we have the square root of 2x plus 9 minus 5 is equal to 0. So the first thing I need to do is get that 5 over to the other side so I can isolate my square root. So I'm going to add 5 to both sides of my equation. I now have the square root of 2x plus 9 is equal to 5. I need to go through now and square both sides. So I'm going to square this side. But if I do it to the left, I got to do the same thing to the right. So square this side as well. And in doing so, this takes and eliminates my radical, which leaves me with 2x plus 9 is equal to 25. Here I'm going to go through and move my 9 to the right. Move the 9 to the right. We got to move it to the right. Oh, change my color back here to the black one. Thank you. 2x is equal to 16. Okay, so I now have 2x is equal to 16, and I'm going to divide both sides by 2. And I find that x is equal to 8. Okay, I need to go through and check it. Going back to my original equation, I'm going to take and do square root of 2 times 8 plus 9 minus 5. It has to equal 0. This gives me the square root of 16 plus 9 minus 5. This gives me the square root of 25 minus 5. 5 minus 5, I do believe, equals 0. So that is a valid solution. Looking at our next equation here. So my next equation right here, I'm going to start off just like I did with the last problem. I'm going to move my 2 from the left side to the right side. So minus 2 minus 2. And I now have the square root of a minus 5 is equal to negative 2. Following my protocol, just like I did up there, I could go through and square both sides. So I now have a minus 5 is equal to 4. I'm going to go through and add 5 to both sides. A is equal to 9. And just like in the previous problem, I'm going to go through and check my solution and make sure it's okay. So let's check it right here. So I'm going to go through and do 9 minus 5 plus 2 is equal to 0. 9 minus 5 is 4, so I have square root of 4. Plus 2 is equal to 0. 2 plus 2, I do not believe 4 is equal to 0, so therefore this one has no solution. No real solution. I could have known that right at the beginning up here. Whenever I got to this point here, I have a radical equal to a negative number. I could have stopped there and said, hey, there's no real solutions, and moved along. But this shows a step by step as to why that's the case. Looking at one more example here of things we could come across. We have here two radicals, one on each side. For this one, we're going to go through and we're going to square both sides of our equation, just like we were doing before. So I'm going to square this side, and I'm going to square this side, just like we did up there. Except the only difference is this time I have two radicals going on. And whenever I square them, the radicals are eliminated, leaving me with 2m minus 6 is equal to 3m minus 14. At this point, I got to get all the m's on the same side. So I'm going to move that 2m from the left to the right. So minus 2m minus 2m. In doing so, I now have negative 6 is equal to m minus 14. Move that 14 over to the left by doing a plus 14, plus 14. And I find out that m is equal to 8. Let's go and check our solutions and make sure they're okay. So to go and check it, I'm going to go through and do back to my original equation. Square root of 2 times 8 minus 6 is equal to the square root of 3 times 8 minus 14. Well, 2 times 8 is 16, so I have 16 minus 6. Over here I have 3 times 8, which is 24, minus 14. So on the left I have the square root of 10. On the right I have square root of 10. I do believe the square root of 10 is equal to the square root of 10, so therefore that is a valid solution.